today.
Today.
Well, let's talk about today.
You grab a national state level, you have to run non-sales, wholesale.
Is like 9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put it in the registration booth with the
Just this ever-evolving story.
Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Let's Grow Pulling, our Monday night regular show for the Beer Money Pulling Team, your official podcast of the Beer Money Pulling Team. Be sure to let us know where you're watching from, what you've got going on. I'm going to give you a rundown of everything that we've got going on this evening. I'm going to hit you with some notes. And then, as you guys can see right here, we've got an awesome driver who's joining us all the way from Texas. So as you can see right here, Cole Zajicek, he's going to be our first guest. He's got that 7:30 to 8 o'clock time slot, going to be telling us about Thunder by the Colorado and all things Texas tractor pulling. Tim Beaty in the Sawmill Express is going to be joining us at 8 o'clock, where he's going to talk to us about going to the Pullers Championship for the first time. Super modified two-wheel drives are making their return. First time they've been there since year one. Then Jeff Kapinos out of Wisconsin is going to hop on at 8:30. He's going to talk to us. Called us out on TikTok. He said, hey, Beer Money Pulling Team, you need to interview me. Careful what you wish for, guys. You call us out, you're going to get it. And then Tom Gillis is going to join us with the old Deere Destroyer pulling through the past. He's going to talk to us about some of that 1990s vintage truck and tractor pulling. Before we dive in, I do want to take a minute to acknowledge something. Cole, I'm sure that you've heard, or it's probably been on your Facebook page as well. We want to acknowledge and give our condolences to the Goodwin family. Dennis Goodwin, we just received news, knew he was sick, knew that he was a tough individual and was battling, but the passing of Dennis Goodwin is one of those that resonates with the entire tractor pulling world. 5-time point champion with the Outlaws, grab points championships in 2002, 3, 5, 6, as well as 1999. 2023, he was inducted in the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Hall of Fame. So our thoughts go out to Matt and the entire family. Of course, his legacy is well lived on with Matt out there on the tractor. But we want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers, and we want to continue to look forward to Pulling's future. Cole, how are you? Thanks for joining us this evening on Let's Grow Pulling.
Oh, doing pretty good, Mike. Nice to finally get to talk to you. I can't say in person, but, I mean, we're talking, I guess.
I was going to say the same thing. I need to do like a digital handshake. You know, it's fun for me with my journey with the Outlaws over the past couple of years. And I've got to meet so many, legendary pullers. And I'm missing two, Whitey and yourself. I've not met your father, Robert, and I haven't met you just yet. But this should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to talking some truck and tractor pulling. So bring me up to speed. How are things going in Texas? And, Can we be looking for you this year? Are we going to see you out and about a little bit?
Well, things are going good down here. We're as busy as ever. We got this tractor pull coming up here at the end of the week. And when we decided to do this in 2013, myself, Dad, and Timmy, we didn't have quite the business that we have today with fertilizer. And now it's just so busy. This is the most hectic time of year, and we're trying to promote a tractor pull, and it's the first pull of the Texas Truck and Tractor Pullers of the Year, and it's crazy. It's something. It's a very hectic week, but things are great. Business is good. The family's great. I mean, everything's great.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Give us a quick rundown. Actually, Kinsey, if you don't mind, why don't you throw that poster up there, and let's talk about just what this pull is, the Thunder by the Colorado Texas Truck and Tractor Puller. Now, Cole, is this sanctioned with the TTPA, or is this an independent pull? And maybe tell us what the class is. Give the fans a quick rundown on what they're going to be seeing this upcoming weekend.
Yes, sir. It is sanctioned with the Texas Truck and Tractor Pullers Association. They're a good little organization down here in Texas, and you know they have a few shows, and they could always use more shows. But it's tough. It's tough to promote a pull down here. But they got eight classes. They'll start off with a little I guess little small block class like the limited mod. And then they got a econo rod tractor class. Then they have like the pro stock 4-wheel drive pickup similar to the Outlaws. I think they might be limited on RPM. Would probably be the only thing that would separate them. And then they have a diesel pickup class, a blower modified tractor class, like a single engine. And then they have like a hot farm class, like that Clint Medding has. The bullfrog, not the big tractors. And then they have our 2-wheel drive truck class, and then they'll have the outlaw mods. So we should have a few outlaw mods there.
We've kind of got a good spread of iron, really something for every fan, but also something for kind of every, tier, every level of pulling. If you're bringing the super modified 2-wheel drive trucks in Texas, you guys are kind of known for that down there in the Lone Star State. That's as good as it gets. You've got the outlaw mods, which is a class that I think the whole world just needs to have on their radar. But you've also got your pro stock trucks and you've got your econo mods. So a little bit, was that done on purpose when you were picking the classes to kind of spread it out and make sure you involved everybody?
No, sir. The way they do it is a little different than like your traditional outlaw or ITPA or your bigger association. They when you buy their show, you get all the classes. Like that's the way it is. It's just a whole you get every class. It's just kind of like a package deal. You don't have to take the outlaw mods, but Cameron likes to come. Donald's right down the road. He wants to come run. It's his hometown show as well. You got to have the outlaw mods.
Do they now, when you're talking Cameron and Donald, who are always game to throw down, and I would never say that they're going to pull the reins back. Do they use this as a test and tune in a way to make sure that they're ready to roll, or do they come out and they're just in a dogfight and saying, "Hey, we're gunning for green like we always are"?
Well, I've never known either one of them to turn it down.
Right.
And it's Donald's hometown show, so you can figure the rest out. No, they're coming to win, and I don't know if like Doug Voth will bring his revamped tractor. He redid it at the end of last year, so I don't know if he'll get to come. And then I had seen a picture of Brandon Gillian. He rolled his tractor out of the shed the other day. He's just a few hours away. So we could have six tractors there, 7 tractors. I don't know. It could be a hell of a class.
How far you called this Donald's home pull? How far is Columbus from Cat Spring?
Oh, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. So this truly is. Yeah. This is.
Yeah, he's here. He lives in the county here, so he's
so
on the
truly
other side of the county.
What I'm learning with Texas, as I get to know, several of you individuals, is sometimes hometown might mean 2 hours away. You guys, you'll travel farther to get out of your home state than I'll travel to go all the way to my Rock Valley this year. So but 50 minutes, so he does get to have hometown turf. How close is it for you guys? Are you guys from Columbus? Is this your actual hometown?
Sir. From my house where we are now, it's 2 miles to the highway and 2 miles to the fairgrounds. So it's right there.
So between you guys and the Nelsons, you could combine your total points championships. And if we had to break it down by county, we would have one county that's way out front when it comes to your outlaw championships. Did not realize you guys were so geographically close. That's really cool. I want to reiterate the classes and the things that we're going to see at this Thunder by the Colorado, which I think is a great name for a pull. We've got a highlight video. Kenzie, go ahead and throw that up there when you have a chance, and we'll let that do its thing really quickly. All right, folks. And as you saw there at the end of course, this is going to be available to be live streamed on Full Pull Live. So be sure to check that out. What time does the first green flag wave both nights? What's it going to cost a person to get in there? And, what are they going to be able to experience beyond just some top tier pulling?
It'll start at 7 on Friday, give everybody time to get off work. And then on Saturday, the truck and tractor pull will start at 6:30. But on Saturday during the day, we'll have there's a local club here of garden tractors, like small hot rods and motorcycle engines that make you hold your ears. You know what I mean? They'll be out there. They'll be out there pulling at probably 3 or 3:30, and then they'll pull for a couple hours, and then it'll be a little intermission. And 6:30 we'll start on Saturday, and the pits are all open. We ain't charging for nobody to come in the pits. It's one ticket gets you everything. The only thing else, you can ride the monster truck. I think they got one of those ride monster trucks coming, and it's a BYOB event. Only thing we ask is that you buy your food and your soda water from the Boy Scouts or the FFA alumni.
Two very good associations too. I can say that Boy Scouts, FFA, something you always want to support. BYOB. I've found a good way to ensure for a rocking crowd. There's a couple other places that say, hey, we don't care, bring it on in. What are the crowds typically like down there? Are they jiving and they're into it? Do you guys typically pack the stands? How has that developed over the past 10 years or so?
Well, the first night, I remember it like it's, it was yesterday. There hasn't been a tractor pull around here since probably LaGrange in the 80s. I always hear Dad and Timmy talk about it. I don't know when it was. Don't quote me on that. But the people came in on Friday night of the very first year in 2013, and they had these small little coolers, the little igloos, and they came and watched the show. Then on Saturday night, the same folks were walking back in carrying a Yeti. They were, and then it's just, nobody really gets out of hand.
Sure.
That was our biggest fear is, people, we can all get out of hand, myself included. That was our biggest fear. Like people were going to get out of hand with the BYOB, but we try to start it on time, national anthem beforehand, try to start on time and try to have it over by 10:30, 11 o'clock. I got a great track crew, a couple of guys I graduated with, it's just, everybody's just, my dad, it works the starting line. He tries to keep everybody on their toes, and just, everybody just be ready. Let's get it over with. Let's all go drink some beer, just eat. We boil shrimp for the pullers after the pull. Let's just get it over as quick as we can, just to get the people in, get the people out. That's the main thing.
It reminds me of everything that I've seen. I know it's not an outlaw pull, but it reminds me of everything that I've seen this past summer to a quick, efficient show with, great horsepower, a lively crowd and camaraderie in the pits. That's some of the most fun aspect is, the pullers, they want to talk to the fans, and then the pullers after the show, they want to unwind and reminisce on things. What kind of success has your team had at this pull and this track over the years? The hometown curse, it's supposed to be the hardest one to win. Has this place been kind to you guys?
It hasn't been the kindest recently. We've done some good in the past. My sister drove a couple years, and we do like a little overall puller. You get like a cooler or like a suitcase or, something along the lines of that. My sister won it one time. I won it one time. And then it's just like, ever since then, we ain't done worth a damn. So, but, we kind of quit pulling there we didn't quit, we laid off pulling there for a while. And, when you ain't worried about pulling, it's going to reflect in your results, so I don't know. I got a buddy coming. He's gonna help me this year, and we're gonna try to do a little bit better.
So I'm the question that I want to stare right down the barrel, and I'm going to go right to it. So, as you acknowledge, you guys weren't out on the point circuit in 2024. I'm not sure that you were out in 2023, 2025. What can the fans expect to see from your guys' camp? What are your, are you coming out? Are we going points chasing this year?
I don't know. I don't know yet. Dad, we're going to go to Columbus. We're going to go to Nordheim, which is 2 weeks. It's on y'all's Pullers Championship. and then he says he wants to go to Ravenna. Well,
Sure.
then we're gonna go to Farley. So
Absolutely. Yep.
after that, I don't know. We'll go to Whitewright, and then I guess we'll go to Rock Valley, and then hell, we're halfway there. So I don't know. We haven't.
I love what I'm hearing. So I get what you're saying. It's we're going to play it by ear, but there's so many that you want to hit within that early, you don't want to miss Rock Valley. Obviously, Whitewright, and we're going to talk about that in a second, kind of coming out of the ashes and coming back. That's got to be important to you. Well, shoot, I've seen pullers accidentally run a full season before, because if you do well at, like, let's say you do well at Ravenna and you do well at Whitewright and you do decent at Rock Valley, well, you might accidentally be sitting second in points. And at that point, you kind of, I get it. You'll have to see what's going on, but it does sound like fans, they're going to get a glimpse, maybe more so than they did last year. And I know that's something that's going to be exciting to folks. Let's talk about Whitewright since you brought it up. That pool was going to get transferred to Lindsay, and, kind of riding off into the sunset. We thought that historic pool had done its last hurrah. And then here just a couple of weeks ago, we heard, oh, nope, they're going to move that date back to Whitewright. We're going pulling again there. What was your gut reaction when you heard about that?
Well, when I seen it that one morning, I was like, I honestly thought was, what the hell is this? Like, who hacked their Facebook page? That was that was my thought, because I was like, that's gone, So then, then I called Cameron. Cameron knows, Cameron knows everything. You just want to know, you just call Cameron. If not, he'll find out. So he made a couple phone calls, and then he called me back about an hour later, and I guess it's going to be good. The track's there, the bleachers are there, everything's there. It's just. And Doug has promoted a pool in the past. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of freaking work that you don't get thanks for, And if, I'm happy, I'm happy that they're going to do it again. I'm anxious to go back, parking underneath those pecan trees. It's just it's a neat event. And, they said they're coming with 6 or 8 classes. It ought to be a heck of a show,
Gonna be a big show, and bringing in some that we haven't necessarily seen before. The super stock diesel trucks are gonna kind of kickstart some stuff for the Outlaws down there. The Lee family, I think, has got a big hand in that. Boy, they're tough runners right now. It's gonna be fun to see what they can do.
Cody Lee is all in on pulling in Texas. He is just all, from what he's talked to my dad, and I think he's all in on that, and he's all in on Whitewright from the way I understand it. So it ought to be good.
Texas has, I think, so much more of a competitive pulling history than people realize. And Whitewright is, it's one of the more prestigious or historic pulls that are down there. Fingers crossed. I hope it keeps going as long as it possibly can. I'm going to be up in Manila, Iowa that weekend, running our twin show up there. I've never been to Texas, never been pulling in Texas, but it's definitely, Whitewright has been on my bucket list for a long time. So I do hope
to come to Lufkin.
Lufkin falls right in the middle of real job time. That one I got to sneak away and get down there and see what we can make happen. That would be fun as well. I got another question I have for you. You mentioned how hard it is to promote a pull. Is it, compare promoting and putting on a pull to, say, getting ready to go pulling for a weekend or getting ready to go pulling for the season? Which one's harder? Which one's more rewarding? What's it like on that side of things?
Promoting the pull is probably the hardest thing we do that's tractor pulling related all year long. It is, and we have lots of help. It's Timmy and our other partner, Pat, and me and Dad, and just so many people just help us that don't get any recognition, but it is definitely way harder than going pulling. Like we'll take off and go see her family in Illinois for 10 days. We'll go pulling, we'll pack up whatever. That ain't nothing compared to promoting this pull. And we're a small pull. I could never imagine a 3-day event or like a Bowling Green or a Wisner with multiple tracks. But it is rewarding when during the pool, you can go walk through there and you see the people, and the little kids, and they want to come talk to you and they want to take a picture, and they're running up and down, in the crowd, and they're just so happy to, I don't know. I compare it to like the county fair. You see people going crazy, having fun. I mean, it's just, but like you were a part of that. I say we as it's a lot of us. We did this. We just
Sure.
do it for the community. Like we don't want to pull. I don't want to pull in front of people I know because I always do bad. I want to bring people into our town and trying to show them what we do. Because everybody thinks we pull popping Johnnies. I mean, a lot of people don't get it, but it
I
is
love
rewarding.
I love what you just said right there, because the biggest question, people look at me and they say, oh, you're leaving or going on this trip to go to a tractor pull. And that's exactly what they think. It's these, two hitters out of the field, and it's, dead weight sleds. And this is such a more professional and such a bigger thing than I think a lot of people realize. But the satisfaction of knowing that you've brought that entertainment to the fans and brought something good to the community, I can see where that would be very rewarding. I want to talk to you as a puller. We've got some videos. So we've talked about White Right. We've actually got some videos of you going down the track on White Right a couple of years ago. Kinsey, go ahead and play. Go ahead and give us a Friday night run. We're going to take Cole's reaction and have him break it down, see what he thinks of his pass right here. All right, Friday night in White Right 2023, 2 years ago, I think, is when this was from. We're going to be like football players in the film room. Tell me what you saw. Did you like that run? Would you look back and say, hey, Cole, you did a good job on that one?
Well, I wouldn't say I did a good job, but I mean, it looked like my takeoff was smoother than the rest of the run. So I don't know. I just didn't have the ground speed that I wish I'd have had. Thinking back a couple years, I can remember the craziest stuff, but I think that was one of them deals where you should have pulled on one sideline or the other, and I was not in either one of those spots. So it probably reflected in my results. I probably didn't do very good.
Compare White Right or talk about that track specifically. What does a person have to do in the mod two-wheeler class to be successful there? What are some things that you look for in your setup?
It broke up a little bit, Mike. Do what?
When you're pulling at White Right, you talked about how you didn't quite have the ground speed you wanted. Talk about pulling there. What are some things that you try to, read the track? What are some things you want to nail in your setup? What's it take to be successful at White Right?
Man, I don't know. I've struggled there. Last year I did okay. The first night, man, it is a kind of a tricky track. It's real yellow. I call it yellow clay. It can get wet, and it always seems to have be soft in the middle. Traditionally, ever since probably that year, I should be pulling on the sideline. And it's a decent track. It's not Rock Valley by no means. It's better than our track. It's just tough. You can make a run like that and get 15th place. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but I haven't done well either. So what I say really won't matter.
Let's flip it then. What are some places that you'll pull throughout any given summer that you can't wait to get to? What are some of your tracks that you've had success or you just love going there?
I love going to Rock Valley. I'll pull at Rock Valley once a month. If it wasn't for the drive, I'd pull there once a month. I love it. I've had great success there. I've, won the Rock a time, got second in the Rock multiple times. It's you just know you can put some weight on the front and just, not that you can't just drive, but it's going to be a good track, knowing that. And I love going to Lufkin, and it's 3 hours away, and the track's getting better every year. And it's not always about the track. It's about, just hanging out and the pullers that are going to be there, new pullers, like the Sullivans came down to Lufkin last year. It was awesome, and, those are two of some of my favorite pulls, that's on the outlaw circuit,
Yep.
I like to go pull with ITPA with my in-laws just because it's somewhere new. Hell, I've never been to ITPA pulling before, and we show up at this place on a Tuesday or a Monday night, and the crowd's, packed, and hell, you're pulling, and
Sure.
it ain't even about the track. It's just about going pulling somewhere new sometimes. So
Just getting out and having fun, living that, that's, if I could put a theme on this interview, this has been a good time, because I can tell you're someone who just, whether you're promoting or freelancing or outlaw points chasing, getting out and getting on the track. And there's, I always tell my friends, I've never been sad at a tractor pull. It's an awful hard place to not have a good time at. What would you say? You've got 4 points championships. Your family's done very well. Just you personally, what would you say are some of your accomplishments that you're most proud of as a tractor puller, as a truck puller?
I mean, I would say tractor pulling related. I mean, obviously winning. I almost got to give one of the championships to Dad, because he drove my truck in the COVID year, and he tied himself. Yep. He tied himself. So I guess I got 3.5. So winning those championships. I mean, we pulled at the Western Farm Show. I think we won 5 out of 6 years. I mean, winning the farm show, I won the finals in the farm show, and that was great. But honestly, I think the best part of that was that me and Dad were both in the finals that year. I mean, that was probably better than winning the farm show. Just us getting to pull against each other in the finals at Louisville. I mean, that really made the win that much better. I mean,
is that something that I imagine you and he experience, from time to time, or even fairly frequently, going out there and pulling with your dad? How much does that mean to you? And how often do you find you and him kind of knocking on that door for that first and second spot?
Well, years ago, probably 7, 8, 9 years ago, we always seemed to be, first or second, or, to always top 5. I mean, just seemed like we couldn't do no wrong. But it's hard to get first and second when you have, 2 identical trucks. The only thing different is me and him. I mean, it's really hard. But, I mean, more recently, if one of us can sneak in a win, we're happy, we're happy, because they're harder and harder to come by. I feel like everyone else has stepped up so much more, but no, just getting to go pull with him. And now I got 3 little kids, and they love to go pulling. And well, the little boy, yet I don't even think he knows, he just hears us crank the trucks up in the shop. He's coming in here now. Here he is. You want to come sit with me? Come here. Come here. Come here. You can be on camera. Are you going to drive the truck one day? Yeah. You are?
All right, folks, we've got a special live guest on Let's Grow Pulling, making his debut, future puller exclusive. Cole, who's joining us right here?
This is John.
How we doing, John? Can you say hi, bud?
Old, and he said, "Get your finger over your nose." Can you say hi? He just
John, so what's a?
It'll be me.
John, what's a pulling truck sound like, buddy? What's a pulling truck sound like?
So he'll be next. Michelle will actually be next. My oldest girl, I think she drive tomorrow, like tonight. If I told her on Friday night, hey, you're gonna get in the seat and pull that thing here in town, she'd be in. She wouldn't think about it. So they're ready. They're beyond ready.
Oh yeah. I can tell apples aren't falling too far from trees down there in Columbus, Texas.
No.
What do you still have left on your goal list? You said you've won at the farm show, you've won points championships. Does the sport owe you anything? Or is there one win that you're still kind of chasing a little bit?
Man, I don't know. I've won a lot of the outlaw stuff. I mean, I won the Thunderbolt that year in Wisner. I feel like Wisner always owed me the Thunderbolt, because I could win the first day and get like 12th or 15th on Saturday, or get 12th and 15th the first day and get like first or second the next day. Wisner was always my one that I could never catch, and I finally got it. And with the outlaw, I mean, we've won a lot of outlaw stuff, and I'm very happy with our success on the outlaw stuff. And I mean, I would one day maybe like to go try something else, but I mean, I'm happy with where we pull. We're happy. I've never won a Texas Points Championship with the local club, so that might have to be something I need to try to win one year.
There you go. Wouldn't be anything wrong with that. Well, I can tell you this. I mean, we wish you the best of luck in any endeavor that you choose to, go after. But I do know that the Outlaws miss you. That's your family name is a name that gets brought up very regularly. And we would love, even though you've accomplished all there is to accomplish, we would love to see you just continue, to run your success with that. Before we wrap this up, why don't you hit us with the details one more time? And Kinsey, if you want to throw that poster up there one more time, big pull coming up this weekend, Thunder by the Colorado. Folks, we're talking with Cole Zajicek, 4-time points champion with the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association and promoter for this pull in Columbus, Texas. Cole, just wrap it up for us. Tell the fans what they need to know about having a great time Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah, just come on out. If you live close, I mean, hell, if you live far too, y'all are all welcome. Everybody's welcome down here. $20 at the gate, BYOB, 8 classes of Texas Truck and Tractor Pullers. I mean, you won't be disappointed. Both nights, same thing both nights. Only thing with us, there's always a chance of rain. That's with our pull. There's always a slight chance of rain, but hopefully the good Lord will look after us, and we'll get to go pulling two nights. So
$20.
We're ready.
$20 a night, 7:00 on Friday, 6:30 on Friday night. Everything from naturally aspirated mods all the way up to outlaw mods, super modified 2-wheel drive, pro stock trucks. A lot of noise. Any smoke? I mean, do we have any pro stock tractors or anything there, or is it all noise?
Clint, no, he'll have the hot farm, and then the diesel pickup class.
Sure.
Like with Cody Lee in them. I think Cody Lee's going to bring his exhibition super stock. And then I talked to Clint on Saturday at Dustin's wedding. They said they hope they have both pro stocks there. So,
hey, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, there's Brandon Gilligan right there. There's Brandon.
Says they're going to be in Columbus.
We'll be in Columbus.
So
right.
You
there's
count
your
on maybe four at least. That we could almost just name off top of mind mods right now. So. That'd be pretty slick.
Donald got 3, Cameron, Brandon, and if Doug comes, that'll be 6. So
Sure. Yeah, you can't count Donald as a single puller. He's got a whole fleet. He's got a whole army of vehicles now with that third one that he's going to be bringing out. Hey, Cole, thank you so much for joining us on Let's Grow Pullin'. This was an interview that I've been looking forward to for a long time. Going to have to meet up at one of these outlaw tracks this summer and have a cold beverage after the pull sometime. I look forward to talking pulling with you and your family. Thank you for joining us tonight. Good luck this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks, that was Cole Zajicek, pulling by Thunder by the Colorado with the Texas Truck and Tractor Pulling Association in Columbus, Texas. This weekend, legendary puller, done about all there is to do. Be sure to live stream that if you can't make it on fullpull.live. Get there in person if you can. We're going to shift gears now. We're going to talk about the Pullers Championship. We're going to stay with the super modified 2-wheel drive truck class. We're going to go ahead and bring onto the stage right now Tim Beaty, your driver of the Sawmill Express. Tim, thank you for joining us. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm really good. How are you doing?
Doing really well. I'm going to have you do us one quick favor before we get going for real. I want you to take your phone, turn it long ways for us. That's going to automatically fill that whole screen, or at least it should. There we go. Perfect.
There we go.
Awesome. So let's talk about the Pullers Championship, May 16th and 17th in Nashville, Illinois. Are you excited to be going?
Yeah, we lucked out and got in that. It was a lot of trucks that had to be voted on to get in. We was lucky to get in. So
what does it mean to you to hear from the fans, and to have your name make that list, just to know that you're one of the ones of the whole country that the fans want to see there? Is that kind of an extra special feeling knowing that they're supporting you like that?
Oh, yeah, that's got to be special for anybody, for 200-plus trucks to be voted on and make it in out of, get down to 20 and make it. So that's really, really means a lot.
Absolutely. Have you pulled? Now, this will be your first time pulling at the Pullers Championship, correct?
Yes, I've never pulled there before.
Okay, so you've never pulled at Nashville, period. You've not gone up there for pulls with PPL or any other associations in the past.
No, I haven't.
Have you been calling your buddies and asking them about the track or studying any film, or is this one of those things you're just going to show up and do your thing?
I've watched a lot of pulling go on there, but our teammates has pulled there before. I think the Sullivans.
Sure.
So we're just we kind of pull as a team. So we'll just every track is different. So when you get there, you got to figure out what you need to do, motor wise, gear wise, tire pressure wise. There's lots to go on there. So
talk to us about your past and your teammates. How is it that you and the Sullivans got to be working together, and what's it like working with the group that essentially created this class?
Well, I pulled four-wheel drive. I pulled a two-wheel drive from 1980, 81 to about 85, many years ago. So I've done it for years. I got back in the four-wheel drive business. Pulled two four-wheel drives for many years, 25 years probably, and I always wanted to get back to two-wheel drive business. And I've known the Sullivans and known Dwayne for years, and so they priced the truck, and I guess you say the rest is history.
Sure.
Real good teammates. I'd do anything for them. They would do anything for me. I couldn't really do it without their help. They're really good. So we'll have a new truck. We got a brand new truck to be out this year. We about got it done. So it'll be all brand new. So
that's awesome. When did you find yourself? What year was it that you took over the Sawmill Express and you found yourself in the driver's seat of that one?
It was 2019 or 2020, somewhere in there when I purchased it. It's been pulling it 4 or 5 years. We've won a lot of pulls and lost a lot too, but we have really done good with it. So, and had a lot of fun. Something about pullers, you get to see a lot of people, and the pulling family is kind of different. You get that pulling family, and you miss seeing them if you don't go. So
yeah, I completely understand that. As Cole and I were just talking in our last interview, that's almost what it's all about, is being out there with these people who help you grind it out and just seeing them in and out there and all that time. You talked about having some good success over the past 4 or 5 years with this truck. Tell us about some wins or some passes that kind of come to your mind that you're most proud of, or something you've enjoyed the most since you've been driving this particular truck.
We've won a few pulls in Florida. One last year in Florida. We won a big pull in Rockwell, Iowa back last year.
Yeah, very big Grand National pull up there.
Oh, we got 7th at Bowling Green out of 66. I figure that's nearly a win if it's 20. You know what I mean? I was 48th hook. I was pretty much the first hook in the third class, So
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
What was there anything left in the track at that? I mean, obviously there was enough for 7th place, but was that thing chewed up and spit out, or was it coming back around?
That track up there actually goes back together real good. Mm-hmm. I was 48th hook and wound up 7th, so that tells you it's holding together pretty good.
Definitely. Would you say Bowling Green's one of your favorite places to pull, or do you have a particular track that you enjoy more than anything else?
That black truck has really done good at Bowling Green. My buddy Donnie 2 years ago, I couldn't make it up there, and he almost won the ring with it. So that black truck has really done well at Bowling Green. So it's really it's a good track. It stays together. I mean, the last truck can win.
Talk to us about, you said that you started off in the 2-wheel drive division, spent some time in the mod 4-wheel class. When was it? When did your 4-wheel drive days come to an end? And maybe kind of compare driving a 4-wheeler compared to a super modified 2-wheel drive truck.
Well, we run pro stock trucks, what we ran, but there's a lot of difference. That blower is, you really gotta. You can't leave. You got to watch how you drive one. You blow the tires off. Big difference, a big step up. But I come into it pretty quick. Won some pulls the first year I started driving it. So, and the next year we won several pulls, and it just NTPA is a lot. like last year, we just run the Grand National circuit, and that seemed like Ace 40 trucks everywhere we went. It's just a lot of trucks, a lot of competition, good competition.
It feels to me recently that the super modified two-wheel drive trucks are kind of having a bit of a resurgence. There was a while, with all respect given, and a lot of people will say this, that they were kind of becoming the class that the fans weren't getting that excited about. They would kind of, take a break during that. There's been a lot more buzz about this class lately. The points races are really, really tight, and we're seeing a big involvement. You talk about everywhere you go, there's 40 trucks, but I feel like any of those 40 can win. Those aren't field fillers. Would you say this is one of the toughest classes to walk away with a win right now in pulling?
If you in this class, you walk away the top 5, you've really done good because of the competition you're pulling again, because anybody you pull again any other night can beat you. So there's nothing to say that you can win any night, but you got to have all your ducks in a row and everything perfect to win every night. That's not going to happen.
You talked about earlier, talking about having those ducks in a row. You mentioned tire pressure. You mentioned track reading. In your class specifically, what are some things that a driver or, a mechanic or whatever really needs to pay attention to if you're going to be consistent and be successful?
Well, the biggest part of it is just how you drive the truck. I know you got to set your truck up for wherever the horsepower of the track. You can take horsepower out or put it in, but you've got to figure out what you need for what track you're on. And tire pressure, it means a little, but you got to set your truck up for however you're going to leave or however the track is. If you got a real good track, you put whatever you got in there and hope for the best. Some tracks you really have to drive your truck.
Sure. Let's bring this back to the Pullers Championship. It's getting to be a very a destination pull. It's a resume pull. A lot of pullers want to get there. What are your buddies telling you about that track, or what have you seen from watching video? Does that look like one where you're going to be able to just put all the weight on the nose and just throw everything you got at it out of the hole? Or, what's kind of going through your mind right now as you prepare for this one?
Well, it's hard to say a lot about the track. You see how the dirt is, because every track is different. You can have one track good tonight, tomorrow night it not be as good,
Sure.
The moisture content in it means a lot. Yeah. How it packs back in. But from what I see, it's a good track. So, just have to look at it and see what you need to go from how the dirt looks,
So they had super modified two-wheel drives there the first year that they had it, and then it went away for a while. They've come back again. The pull has really, really grown quite a bit. Obviously, it's not Bowling Green yet. It's not Hillsboro or Wisner, Nebraska. But what would a win at the Pullers Championship mean to you? Or what does this pull in and of itself? Does this one kind of have a special spot as a big pull for you?
What makes it special about that? Because there's been 200 to 300 trucks that wanted to go.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, you go up there and win that pull. Well, it was a bunch of trucks wanted this trophy, but that's what would be nice about it, because so many trucks wanted to go and didn't get to go. There's a lot of good trucks that's going to be a watching, and that's something to look at right there. That you did make it in and they didn't. So I'm glad we made it in. We'll just see what goes on from there.
Is it a fun opportunity to be able to pull against pullers from other associations, maybe people that you don't always run against, like an outdoor Louisville? You're going to have your Grand National champion there. You're going to have your outlaw champion there. Is this an opportunity to see some trucks that maybe you don't see the rest of the year?
We see a lot of the trucks through the year. We see them. We got their path in somewhere in maybe Wisconsin or Iowa. A lot of them we see somewhere down the road, and most of them I know, and some of them I don't know. But they're all good trucks. They can beat you. Anybody can win a pull, It just takes one miss up and there you are, You can always look back and say, well, I should have let more air out, or I should have run a different gear. Or I should have had more. There's always something, what if, after the pull, So
this is a perfect timing. We actually got a couple of videos of some passes that you've made recently, Friday and Saturday night in Lexington. I want to take a look at some of these videos. You're talking about the coulda, shouldas, and the what ifs. Let's watch these together, and I want you to look back and say, oh, if I could do that one again, here's what I would have done, exactly like you're talking about. Kinsey, go ahead and give us that Friday night from Lexington with the Sawmill Express. All right, folks, if you're just joining us, we're back here with Tim Beaty, driver of Sawmill Express. We just took a look at his run in Lexington, Kentucky, Friday night. We're talking about adjustments. We're talking about feedback. After watching that pull, were there any what ifs, or are you pretty pleased with that one?
What I would have probably backed that rig down, I might have put a little more weight in the back, and I'd have probably a little more air out tires and not left. I left a little too aggressive.
So was this one of these where the wagon was maybe just a little heavier than you anticipated, or the track itself was
itself was kind of loose, and you just can't lease. You got to really hook your truck up. You just got to weight it down and just hope for the best. But I left a little too aggressive there.
How tricky is that on an indoor pull compared to an outdoor pull where you're 60 feet shorter worth of track to deal with?
Well, it is it's different because you've not got that. You've got like 250 foot, 240 is all you got there, and we're outdoors. You got 350. That's just like that. We went to Ocala back in the spring, and we won on Friday night with a track similar. Didn't leave as aggressive, and of course we got second on a Saturday night, but you just same thing. Or I left too aggressive on Saturday night at Ocala. You just really got to be easy on that throttle on a bad track, on a loose track, should I say?
Yeah. Yep. So when it's move a little to the back, you got to make sure it's set, make sure it's planted. Compare that to your pro stock 4-wheel drive. Could you get into the throttle sooner and more aggressively?
No, yeah, on the pro stock 4-wheel drive, I would have left it to probably 8,500 off the line.
Oh yeah. What do you typically leave out with the 2-wheeler?
I leave it somewhere around, it leaves about 3,000, starts taking off, and then it's how aggressive you want to be with that throttle. You can really mess up that right hand, can really get you in trouble.
And do you think for a young driver, is that maybe one of the biggest things they have to learn, is that right hand can get a little itchy and get a little antsy, and learning to have that control and that patience?
It has a lot. The first 75 foot of a hook, I don't care what your tractor, truck, no matter what, that first 75 foot is really tells you what you're going to do for the next 250. It's just you've really got to get it going that first 75 foot.
How much of that data is relayed to you through your tack and your gauges, and how much of that you're feeling in the seat of your pants as a veteran, and you just know that you've got it or don't got it?
Well, when you lead too aggressive, right off, your motor buzzes up and your tires are busting. Tires busting the ground. And it's not hooking up. You've left too aggressive, and then when you don't leave aggressive enough, you get out there about 100 foot, and that sled hits you. You think, oh no. So
I don't have enough apples in this cart for this wagon, and I imagine on an indoor pull, I've heard people use the analogy, you're almost trying to outrun the sled because that box is going to come up so much more quickly and so much more aggressively, and you need that head of steam when it does find you.
Well, on an indoor pull like that, you got to kill your motor some because the track is not hooking up as good, and you kind of figure out how much you need to kill it for whatever you need to do. You can kill one too much, but you don't want to plumb kill it. But you've got to take some out.
I was talking with some pulling friends this past weekend, and we were talking about which classes love to get out and run. On an outdoor track, of course, you've got over 100 extra feet compared to an indoor track. But the super modified 2-wheel drive truck class, you guys don't always necessarily want to get out there in the 380s and the 390s. Is closer to 300 a better distance for you guys?
Somewhere around 320. 330, but man, out Iowa, I went 396 foot.
Now,
that's stretching it out there.
Tell us, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, the 400-foot club. Have you ever tickled 400 before?
No, no.
That's a new thing I'm doing. I'm asking pullers because there's a couple of us outlaws. The outlaws really like to get out and run with some of those big distances, and a couple of them hit that 400. Why is it that two-wheelers are more satisfied in the 320 range than the 380 range?
Well, you run your truck so hard to get out there, and you're getting out there at 400 foot. You could be getting a little low on fuel if you don't have a big tank. I mean, a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, but that is really stretching it.
Sure. That's a long length of time that you're running a supercharged motor. For a lot of people, pulling borrows and overlaps with drag racing to a certain bit. And some of my drag racing friends talk about, this is good for 8 seconds or 9 seconds. And I heard Ken Vinny one time talk about, we're going to be doing this for 30 seconds, which is an eternity on these types of motors compared to the other sports. You push it out to 400 and you're just asking a lot of the power plant at that point.
Yeah, you're looking at, our runs around 20 seconds or something like that, or maybe in the low 20s. And you're burning a lot of fuel and making a lot of heat. And, anything could happen. I mean, that blower could, anything could happen at that 400 foot mark. You're really getting it up there. That's too far.
Sure. So let's talk about, let's say that it's a Friday night, and you make a mega pass, you win the class, you go way out there, and it's a long run. Let's say you get north of 350. What is you take it back to the trailer? What are some of the first things that are on your checklist and on your to-do list? What do you do between a Friday and a Saturday to make sure you're going to be successful on both nights?
Well, first thing you do, you go back and check the oil filter.
Mm-hmm.
You make sure that you ain't got no cuttings or aluminum in it. And you did check your valves and just check everything, make sure you didn't. That's just, that's a long run, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure. That blower puts a lot of pressure. A lot of
when you are doing a 2-day show, which 90% of the shows that you do are going to be of that nature, is it in your class or in any class in pulling, are you going to get off the track, take it back to the trailer, and you're immediately going to look into it and you're going to check the data and you're going to make sure that everything's where you want it to be? Or is that a project that you leave for Saturday morning?
We'll go back and let it cool down, but we'll go back and check we'll download the computer and see how our cylinders ran, see if we're where we need to be on the cylinders, and then it cools down. We'll check the oil filter, but we'll not check the valves till it cools down good. But the first thing you do is we'll go back and download the run and see RPMs, how hot the plugs got, what kind of boost we had, you check all that. So.
When did you say the first year you went tractor pulling was?
1981.
If you could have told yourself in 1981, hey, a part of your routine when you go pulling, the first thing you're going to do when you get back to the trailer, you're going to plug it into this machine and it's going to give you instant feedback on, cylinder, everything that they're performing. What would you have thought in that time? I mean, you're talking about that's just bread and butter. You go back and you plug it in. The sport has changed. Tell us a little bit about that.
You're talking about sport changing. Back in, if you had a set of 990 heads or a good set of 460 heads or, something like that, you're doing really good. And a lot of times you had to work on a lot. They didn't make good parts back in. You couldn't buy good parts. You couldn't buy these good transmissions at that time. We're around my area. TARS is different. You had 2 sets of tars back in. We pulled in 2 classes. We pulled in a 5800 two-wheel drive, which they called that a modified class. Then they had the open class, which is 6200. And I usually took 2 sets of tars. I'd change the small class, had the 31s, and the open class, you run the 34s at that time. So about the time I was getting out of it, just getting into the bigger tars, the ones that run now, like we got on now, and then that's just, so it has really changed. I mean, it's just ain't nowhere, and it's just unbelievable how much it has changed. That's been
how much
43 years, 44 years ago.
How much of an advantage and how important is that technology? Having that computer and having that data, is that just a huge game changer, and does that impact your setup day by day quite a bit?
That impacts and telling you how hot your engine is getting, your plugs. You know, you can tell what temperature you run. You don't want to melt it down, because if you try to we try to keep up with what fuel mixture and how much fuel we're putting in the motor, you know, by the condensing of the air. So we got to gauge. We check the air with before we chow. That's how we do our motors. That's how we fuel them, on how the air is. So if you get one too lean, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to melt it down. So
Yeah.
you really got to watch that. You got to have the right mixture of fuel and air, or you will melt it down.
Yeah, lean is mean and fat is safe, but you know, too lean. We've all been at a pulling track where we've seen someone pushing that right to the edge, and things didn't go the way that they wanted to. I did run one out of fuel at the end of the track, and it wasn't good. Because then you were just burning. You were essentially burning the air, and things got a little too volatile. I take it
too long hooking up, and stood there too long to let me go. And they got to the end of the track, and they thought I'd let off of it, but I didn't let off of it. It ran out of fuel, and it bent about every rod in it. So,
Was this a Friday night pass or a Saturday night pass?
It was a 1 day pass, just a Saturday night pass.
So we didn't have to, go back, and you weren't cooked for the weekend anyway.
Just a lot of.
What are still some of your goals? What do you still have left out there? You said you grabbed some big wins at Rockwell. You're super excited to be in at the Pullers Championship. You do well at Bowling Green, a place that everybody wants to do well at. What are you still chasing out there?
Well, Grand National Championship is awful nice. My buddy Donnie got it year before last, and we was up in competition there real good. Up then this got a bad deal or two there, so we was right there with him. But that's another story. But you're looking at that championship. That's what I'm running NTPA Grand National again this year with both trucks, and so we'll see what goes on there. So we got Iowa. Iowa's RJ's got a big pad out there, so there's 50 trucks in that. So,
are you headed to Farley? We just talked to Cole Zajicek, and he said that was definitely one he was going to be going to.
Both trucks are in at Farley.
Both trucks are in. The Sawmill Express and the Big Stick are going to be in while we're there. And Tim, you still with us? All right, folks. Looks like Tim might have had some connection issues. We're going to give him a second and see if we can find some stuff right there. This does happen from time to time. We're chatting with Tim Beaty right now. He's telling us about the Pullers Championship in Nashville, Illinois, that he's going to be attending here May 16th and 17th. If I were to guess, it's gone completely black. If I were to guess, folks, I would almost say that his phone may have died on him. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up with Tim Beaty. We wish him the best of luck in Nashville. He's also pulling at Farley, and he says he is chasing a Grand National Points Championship. So we hope all of that goes well. Got a few minutes before we bring our next guest on. What I'm going to do at this point, let's talk about what we're seeing in the social media world out there. Couple of fun stories that I just kind of drummed up. If you've been out in the social media and just kind of flipping through Facebook, some things that I saw that I want to draw some people's attention to. It's always good to see what's going on everywhere out there. The Rough Stuff Pulling Team, they've got their cat ready to go overseas. Tractor's almost ready for next Saturday. Then we start our first competition game of the year. Really, really cool one. Found this in the Beer Money Pulling Team group. I believe it's powered by a 3208 cat. If nothing else, it's got the cat sheet metal on there. Fun stuff to be checking out on Facebook. Jeremy Roberts joined us on Let's Grow Pulling about a month ago. They featured him on the Pullers Championship, 2023 champion, Jeremy Roberts. They're going to be pulling back there. Jeremy went ahead and he shared that he's excited to be pulling in Nashville again this year. Fun interview. We wish him the best of luck. Here's a good one from just down the road from me, down there around Mexico, Missouri, Thompson, Missouri, Hagedorn Racing Engines. Folks, this is one I really want to talk about. Said, well, we're going to need a bigger dyno. He is dynoing the Game Changer. He calls this one the Game Changer. Over 813 cubic inch. It's so big he thinks he needs a bigger dyno. Terry Hagedorn, I'll tell you what, folks, he's got another one. That's Game Changer. You haven't even heard of Game Over yet. And then finally, good friend that I made in Louisville this year, Jan Lowe. He was out in Fuchtorf, Germany, taking some pictures this weekend. Go check out Jan Lowe's Facebook page. He's a phenomenal photographer. He does great work. Tim, did you drop your phone, sir?
I don't know. It went off, sir. So.
Well, we were just wrapping things up. That's going to bring us right about to the cutting edge of the end of your time here with you. We want to thank you for joining Let's Grow Pulling this evening. Thank you for telling us so much about super modified two-wheel drive truck class. Anybody you need to thank before you start on your 2025 season?
Well, I got to thank the Sullivans. They've been awful good to me to help me do whatever I need to do. So I really couldn't do without them. And my buddy Randy Jones. I mean, we got a lot of help, but Donnie and Wayne and Grouse and all, they already helped me a lot. So
well said. Really, absolutely.
Really good team to be on, I'm telling you.
Absolutely. Yeah, for real. And you are at ground zero of the super modified two-wheel drive truck class. This was a fun one. Learned a ton about behind the scenes and pulling. Wish you the best of luck, man. Hopefully we can meet up at the Pullers Championship and talk pulling a little bit.
Good deal. We'll see you there.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Tim Beaty telling us about the Pullers Championship. 2 more awesome guests left to go. Don't go anywhere. We've had a lot of fun, people. Cole Zajicek told us about Columbus, Texas. Tim Beaty told us about the Pullers Championship. Jeff Kapinos is going to be coming up. He's our next one, telling us about his TikTok. And then we're going to be hanging out with Tom Gillis. Tom Gillis has been waiting in the back room all night long, hanging out, watching the show. Vintage pulling pictures are one of my favorite things. I can't wait to talk to him. We're going to give Jeff his 15-minute time slot. And, hey, careful what you wish for, folks. Jeff, how are we doing, sir? Welcome to Let's Grow.
How's it going tonight, guys?
How are you?
Very good. Very good. Just kind of watching the weather here. It looks like it's going to get a little wet and wild in a little bit here.
Okay, well, if you need to dive for cover and, protect that beautiful 66 series behind you, you just tell us. Hey, tell the folks out there, what is your TikTok handle?
TikTok handle, I do believe, is Ranch Hand, right? Ranch Hand 1981 is what we're under.
Ranch Hand 1981. Go and follow him. He's got some fun stuff. Now, we weren't able to put it up here because of the sounds, and we were afraid of some copyright stuff, but go out there and check it out. He made a pretty cool video. Jeff made a good video pretty much saying, hey, Beer Money Pulling Team, you guys need to feature us. And the response was, why was that? And he says, because we're stinking awesome. Jeff, are you just a TikTok wizard or what? Tell us about
I started dabbling into that here a few years ago. It's just something fun to do, right? It's kind of fun making videos, and we just have fun with it. It's nothing serious. I don't do any political crap. It's nothing but fun. And it's all about tractors, right?
Absolutely.
And I've been on tractors since I'm 3 years old, like everybody else, right? And just really enjoy it. Love anything that has to do with tractors, pulling, farming, any of that. So
definitely. Well, we appreciate you being a big fan and for shouting us out right there on the TikTok handle. Do you follow Beer Money Pulling Team? I assume you're a fan of everything that we've got on our social as well.
Absolutely. Been there from the start with Jason and stuff, and went back years ago with Jason, probably back in the 2015, 16, back when we were pulling Hot Farm. I remember pulling with Jason with Badger State years ago when he had the original 1206 there and stuff. So we've been friends for a long time.
How many times have you beaten Jason?
I don't. Back then, I ain't gonna lie to you, I sucked.
Now you weren't pulling the Hot Farm that you've got behind you right now. You were pulling, what was it, the Deere Cruiser?
No, we had the Road Gear Deere. Here, I'm gonna try doing something here once. I don't know if I can do this or not. Can I flip my phone camera around or not?
Hey, give it a try. We'll see what happens.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it here, but I'll just turn my phone around. So
Sure.
There's a little shop tour here. I don't know what you could see, but that was our tractor there. So it was 4020. It was a Hot Farm 466 cubic inch 3x3 turbo. Pulled with Badger State, NEW Motorsports. We were the champions in 2023, or I'm sorry, 2022, we won the championship with NEW Motorsports. Oh yeah, pulled all over the place. Gordyville, Shipshewana. Yeah, we were always right around 30 hooks a year. So, been doing it for a long time. We put that tractor together in 09. I started pulling, my first time down the track was in 1998 at our local county fair. So that was the first time I made a pull, and I was hooked. I was hooked the first time down the track. It was one of them deals.
Now, every tractor pulling fan that's watching this is scratching their head, and every John Deere diehard just, dropped their beer. You show us this beautiful, hot farm it's competing at Gordyville. It's a 40-20. You got a 1066 sitting behind you, man. In the video that I saw, you were on the red one. You got some explaining to do, buddy.
So going way back to my grandpa. So here's a real cool story. I got the tractor in the back, but in 1939, my grandpa and my two great uncles bought 3 new tractors the same day on the lot. My grandpa bought an A. My one uncle bought an H. My other uncle bought an M. My family has been international red, since then, almost 100 years, right? Mm-hmm. But my dad had a love for Olivers. And I don't know if you can see that. I could show you that too, but my dad died in 09, and me and him pulled a lot, and he had a Oliver 88 that he pulled for years, and he loved Olivers and Whites, and that's what we farmed with mostly on our farm. But we did have a 40-20 John Deere, and we did have some red ones. We had all different ones. We had a 784 and bunch of other stuff, but as far as the 1066, I guess pulling against them all the time, we never owned a 1066 on a farm, but I always liked them, right? My neighbor had one, and they were always cool. That was always the coolest muscle tractor, right? I mean, and that can be argued, but I got a chance to buy one here, and I wanted to put together a kind of a hot farm tractor, cheater farm tractor, after chores tractor, whatever you want to call it. And I just wanted to build a red one. I just wanted to hit the easy button. And I got a good friend of mine, Chad Allenfeld, with Full Throttle Performance. He helps me with a lot of stuff. He's been a friend of mine for 20 years, and it just worked out good. He had some stuff laying around, some parts and stuff, and we threw it together. It was one of them deals.
What adjustments have you had to make, or like when you pull in, like you call, I like the 2 things you called it, like the cheater stock or like the after chores class. I think that's a really cool word for it. What do you have to do to take a bone stock or a farm stock vehicle and make it ready for a class like that? What have you done to your 66?
So what this tractor has is that I'm not going to lie about it. It's got a 466 in it. It's got a cam. It's a stock head, other than it's respringed. We got a good double disc clutch in it, 5-disc TA. The tractor still has hydraulics, still has 3-point, still has a PTO. If you go back and look at all my TikToks, we've done quite a bit of plowing with it. Last fall, we were plowing, hit a couple of plow days with it. I've done everything with it. I've had it on the blower, over at my cousin's farm and stuff. I wanted a farm tractor that I could pull, that had some power, but I want to be able to use the thing, right? That 40-20 we had, that was always great, right? It's fun to have 1,400 horse, and it's fun to do this and go down the track 30 miles an hour. But at the end of the day, I could never enjoy the tractor, right? Sure, I can't take it out on a Sunday ride, or I can't do this or that. And I wanted a tractor that I could play and have fun with. It's almost more fun to me messing around, doing other stuff, like that one video where I'm hauling the 2 full gravity boxes full of soybeans, 15 miles down the road to the mill. It's a blast driving. It's a blast using something that's got power. It just is. It's almost funner. I've been on the track 1,000 times, but it's almost funner doing that than going down the track.
How about taking it to town to get milk? James Geesey says that you went to town to get milk on the tractor. This thing gets everything done, right?
We do a little bit of everything. And it's funny, my brother is a teacher, at school, and actually May 7th, 2 weeks from now, they're doing their tractor to drive your tractor to school day, and he's taking it to school. So,
Yep.
you know, we want a tractor. I wanted a tractor that I could screw around with, and that's what we built it for. It's you could call it, it's a bulletproof farm tractor, I guess you could call it. It's fun, you know.
So you're gonna, of course, the tractor cruises are a great time, and you'll display it, you know, at some classic tractor places and whatnot. But what everyone wants to know, and I want to know, is it still going to kick some butt on the track when it comes time to go out there and park it at the big end?
Actually, absolutely. Last year we ended up pulling in a class over by us. It's a farm class, and it's 11 mile an hour. So it's 11 mile an hour, 14.5 farm is what they call it. It's 3,000 RPMs. It's open to any pump. You can run water. You're limited on tire size at 20.8 42s. I only run 20.8 38s and a 20-inch hitch. And the rules are pretty vague, but it's a speed limit class. And we ended up winning points with that group last summer with it. It wasn't painted up back then. You know, that was last summer. I painted it this winter here in the shop. But yeah, and I mean, I enjoyed pulling 8 miles an hour. Doesn't work very well for it, gearing and stuff, but anywhere from that 10 to 15 miles an hour, it's geared for that, and it works out really well.
It's happy in that, but then it comes home and puts its work clothes on and even gets some stuff done around the house. What happened to the Deere?
It ended up going down to a gentleman down in Brownsville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And it is pulling down there. It's called Kryptonite 2.
Okay.
It's owned by Bradley Williams. He bought it down there. He's a cotton farmer, and he changed the sheet metal on it this winter. So you'll probably see it. You're going to see it on the internet. He pulls with USA Pullers, I do believe is who he pulls with down there. 9,500. I think they call it like a hot farm, but it's only a 3,000 RPM tractor now. When I had it, it was an open RPM tractor. So.
And you said that it's 466 with the 3-inch charger on it when you had, was 8,500 pounds, I assume?
9,500.
9,500. So this is in every way like a 8,500 Light Pro or a Light Limited Pro, like what you would say an Outlaw or PPL, other than you had 1,000 additional pounds on it.
Correct. And that's the class we pulled with up here. A lot of the tractors that I pull with are 466s, and we weigh 9,500 pounds. But I ran a 3x3 turbo because I couldn't get a 3x4 underneath the 40/20 hood, and I refused to hack it up. So I ran a 3x3.
You don't like the big bumps on? Oh, I love the way that looks. You're not a fan of that?
I had that. Okay, so back in 2010, I put an HX60 under the hood, and I cut that hood apart, and we redid it, and I absolutely despised it from the minute I put it on.
You talk to a lot of old school pullers, and they love the way that looks. But I get it. You're a sleek and traditional kind of person. So
I could not. After we were done with it, and I had it sitting in the shop here, that whole summer I hated the look of that tractor, and I said that it's coming off for next year. I refused to go down the track with that looking like that again. And I said, from here on out, we're not cutting that hood apart. It's staying. I put a stock hood back on it, and that's what we did.
So, all right, here's a fun question I have for you. You've been with the 40/20, you've been with the 1066, two of the most iconic tractors ever built. I mean, they really are. You ask anybody, and that's going to be what they're going to fight over. What's the best looking tractor not produced by IH or John Deere? If you take those two out, what's the best looking tractor after those two?
Never drove one, never even sat. I don't think that I ever even sat on one, but D21 Alice, right?
I mean, that's most people would say if there is a third one, if you're going to do your Ford, Chevy, Dodge, I mean, really, if you pick three, the 1066, the 40/20, the D21, I mean, they're the Mount Rushmore of beautiful muscle tractors. I love that term. I'm going to be stealing that one too. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, really, D21 Alice. I'm not much of a Ford guy. Maybe you could say a Ford 9000. Sleek.
I'd put a G1000 Mini up there with them.
Absolutely, 100%.
So,
absolutely.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate you reaching out to us on TikTok. This has been a ton of fun. We got about one more minute before we wrap it up. Anybody that you want to give a shout out to while you're here on Let's Grow Pulling tonight?
My wife, my wife, my two boys, Chad Allenfelt and Devin Allenfelt at Full Throttle Performance. Alan Salsider and Scott Salsider have helped me out a lot over the years. And Randy Wolichka. And he also pulls a G1000, a very good looking G1000. That's very, very nice.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck. You're having a ton of fun with this tractor. We can tell. I get a kick out of it. Keep making the TikToks. Ranch Hand 1981. Go follow him. He had a cool video out there. You're going to want to watch that. Thanks for joining us on Let's Grow Pulling.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, folks. Jeff Kapinos out of Wisconsin. I think he said Denmark, Wisconsin. Just having a good time doing all things pulling and tractor related. At this point in time, let's go to one of my personal pet projects. You guys know that I love looking forward, but I love looking back just as much. Let's go ahead and transition over to pulling through the past. This evening, folks, we're going to welcome puller Tom Gillis, former driver of the Deere Stroyer. Tom, you've been waiting with us the entire show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Real good. We just dodged some of these storms that went through. It looks like we'll be surviving so far. So,
all right. Well, that's good. Well, I don't know if you've watched much of this show before or you've seen kind of what I do at this point. My father and I have a huge collection of vintage pulling pictures, photos that he himself took in the 1980s, 1990s, and even up into the 2000s. As a kid, I grew up looking at these things like they were baseball cards. You know, I just loved everything about them. I've scanned them. I've digitized them. I've started giving them out to the world. And for a while, we did a section on the show where I would just talk about some of these tractors, but I only knew so much. And I decided I need to start reaching out to the drivers. So I'm going to go ahead and put one up on the board right now. This tractor right here, does that ring a bell to you?
Yeah, it looks kind of familiar.
So this is, of course, the Deere Stroyer. This was your tractor. Just tell us the story on, you know, how this came to be or what happened to it or, you know, anything you want to tell us about it.
Well, we actually bought it, and I'm going to call it the original Mondovi Mafia. The John Deere dealer in Mondovi, Wisconsin, and a couple of their top mechanics all had pulling tractors. And this one was from the owner of the store, actually, and his son drove it. And it was for sale. And we had done the same thing you had did. We had chased pulling around Dave Schreier at our local pulls in Ellsworth and Esden Lane and you know, a lot of other Nick Score's dad, Jim Score, and pulled Wisconsin locally and the Ridgeland, Wisconsin pulls and stuff. And in fact, even Danny Dean had showed up at Ridgeland, Wisconsin 1 year late in the year. And, you know, it was just, they were the same thing that you described. They were our idols and just followed them best we could. You know, transportation wise was a little different back then, but so this tractor came for sale and my best friend and I kind of formed a partnership and bought it and pulled it like in a T04, kind of the precursor to Super Farm for about 3 years. And we were doing pretty good. And it had gotten to the point where everybody was complaining about the rules and everybody, oh, you're cheating this and, oh, you know, it. And we knew there was a contingent of pullers that we had just idolized and were maybe getting to the end of their run, the Danny Deans and the, you know, we thought, let's go for it. You know, so we put 3 turbos on it, and best phone call I've ever made was call Joe Bush to get us set up.
Mm-hmm.
And he did all the legwork and the engine work. Esden Lane had built the plumbing for it. In fact, some of the early plumbing Von Bauer had done.
No kidding.
So our connection, the reason we called Joe Bush was Gerald Grimes' tractor was for sale. So we called him first. And he had already sold it. So Gerald Grimes says, well, you need to call Joe Bush and have him work on the tractor you do have. So the rest is kind of history. That was our connection to Esden Lane and Rob Russell and Danny Dean and Warren Ropp, and we just kind of instantly all fit right in. And well, even Dennis Goodwin, I heard he passed away today, but that was just how we kind of broke in and did a mild 3-turbo setup. I think it's what they call the T1893 on the top, T1874 in the middle, and the traditional T08 on the bottom. It was very drivable. It was low maintenance. It's kind of just change oil and set the valves and got our feet wet the first year or two. In fact, I think at the end of the first year in 1992 of being super stock, we actually won Ridgeland, Wisconsin pull at the end of the year. So we had kind of made some progress throughout the year and got a little better at driving it and a little better learning it and going on from there. So
I'm going to put this picture up because you just said something pretty interesting. And I pulled another picture that I'm going to circle around too, because you said, some really fun things here. You said 1992. That's actually the year this picture was taken. That this pull or this photo, I believe, I'm almost 90% certain that this was in 1992. Is there anything you could look at to say, whether that might or might not be the case?
That's absolutely 92, because the red trailer right behind it, we painted it black that winter. And another little tidbit, that trailer was built by Brett Berg when he was 16 years old. So
you're running through a who's who of names here on this.
Yeah.
Now, I've watched the video. There is actually a video of where this pull took place, but I don't remember. Was this a smoker or was this spark plugs?
Our tractor?
Yeah.
No, it was grease burner.
Okay, so this is full diesel, triple turbocharged. I'll let you look, and we might have talked about this before, so you might already know the answer, but it's fun nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where this photo was taken?
I'm gonna guess Macon, Missouri.
Macon, Missouri, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
5 miles to the east of where I'm sitting right now. This was at the Show Me Showdown, second tractor pull I ever attended as a little boy.
That would have been Mark Ulmer's trailer right next to us with the Ruby.
No kidding. Okay.
Diesel fuel sponsorship. Yep.
I'm going to pull that up one more time. So that's really interesting.
We got a few items from Mark Ulmer back in the day too. The front pump drives and the external oil pumps, plates, and all that front V belt or cog belt drive came from him. And so, yeah, we kind of connected with everybody right off the bat. It was just almost a miracle.
You'd mentioned, I'm going to throw another tractor up here. You tell me, is this the tractor you were originally interested in buying? You said Gerald Grimes's tractor came up for sale. Is this the tractor that he sold, or was it a different one?
Yeah, no, it would have been his light super stock. Mm-hmm.
So you were interested in this tractor then, correct?
Yeah, we called him. He had an ad in the Puller magazine, and we called him about maybe trying to purchase it or whatever.
Sure.
And he had already sold it.
Sure. Yeah, that picture's a little bit older. That one comes from, I want to say, like 1985. So that one is a little bit older than the one that I have of your tractor.
Yeah, I think at the time he would have sold it. It maybe had like newer, like 40, 55 sheet metal or something to that effect.
Sure. I
don't remember exactly. It would have been the Varmint.
Yep, that's exactly what this one's labeled as.
Yeah.
Tell us, after 1992, how long is it still sitting out in your shop somewhere? What became of this tractor later on, 92 moving forward?
So 93, we thought, hey, we got this figured out. So we built a bigger cube motor, left the turbos alone, really struggled with it. The bigger cubes changed the piston dynamics, and we ran out of headroom in that. So we called it a spacer plate because at the time deck plates weren't allowed. So we went to the rules meeting and got the rules to allow deck plates to be built so we could match the height of the international block.
Okay.
With a 5/8 deck plate on a John Deere block. So we ended up putting a John Deere or an international stroke measurement crank, international rods, and it was the Case 504 piston at the time to make it like a 540 cubic inch engine. And then the next year, in 94, we put 4 turbos on it. Well, really kind of lit it up. Then we really started competing well in the 7,000 pound class anyway. We struggled a little bit in the 9,000.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was just, I got to believe looking back after 30 some years, probably just pure lack of horsepower. But for some reason, we could compete pretty good in the 7. I got second place in a Michigan pull. Esden won it. We were second. And that would have been in 94, I do believe. The interesting tidbit there, Rob Russell was there, and he was an earlier hook. And I don't remember what he did, but if he was just too light on the front end or got too close to the boundary, and he kind of blew it anyway, missed the read, and he come over and he kind of grabbed me by the shoulder and he says, my nickname is O-Ring. They all call me O-Ring. And he kind of grabbed me by the shoulder and he says, "Come here, O-Ring, we're going to set you up." And he kind of spotted the sled and told me what to do. And we maybe moved a weight or two, this and that. And then got to pull off with Esden and I think Tom Dickerson and maybe one more. And we ended up in second place. So that was pretty good. 96, we went to Louisville, made the finals. It was Mark Ulmer on Coleman Wheatley's tractor.
Okay.
Esden Lane was second, and we were third, and Matt Goodwin was fourth. So us 4 made the finals. Finals didn't go so good for us. We missed our weight, or we tried the same setup we had during the preliminary, and it just didn't work out for the finals. So my partner and I both had young children. In fact, my kids used to come along with. They've seen more fireworks and state fairs and been on more rides than maybe most kids ever get a chance to. Traveled with Esden Lane some in his trailer. And the kids went with and hiding in the sleeper, and away we'd go, and family obligations started mounting, farm obligations started mounting. 97 or 8, we sold it to Jeff DeMars.
Okay, so my dad was talking to me about this. He's kind of a behind the scenes historian, and he thought that was Jeff or Tabitha's, smoking hot deer, or what would eventually become that
the
tractor.
Original one before he built a component.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess my understanding was he sold it to somebody that was pulling Super Farm somewhere in Iowa. And that's kind of the last I knew of it, some 20, 25 years ago. So
awesome. Well, I want to show the crowd one more look at it. This is, to me, I can remember, watching the Photo Joe videos and stuff as a kid, and just the yellow wheels on the back with those, just sharp looking mag styles up on the front. I always remember thinking this was just such an iconic looking tractor. And a tractor that was always there, just always in the mix. You mentioned it with Esden and Coleman Wheatley and in our area, we were all about the Alki burners with the Longs and the Connor brothers and everything. But
I remember pulling against them.
this tractor just never seemed to go away. It was always one you were going to have to get past to get to the big end.
It's funny you mentioned the Connor brothers. We actually got some of the parts, the sleeves, we got through them when we added the cubic inch and made the deck plate and made it taller and that. So they were as much a part of helping the grease burners as the clean air machines were, so.
The 7,500 super stock class in the mid 90s, some people would argue was the best pulling class there ever was, pulling up from the 55s, down from the 9,000s, the purpose-built ones, and that. You've mentioned a lot of legendary pullers just as friends and helpers, tonight. Just how much fun was it to be pulling in such a great time in pulling history?
Oh, I could put time in a bottle. I'd never change it. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
So, and we never really chased points or said, well, we're going to do this year. We're going to do that. We'd go to Fort Recovery, where we could maybe hook 3 times in a weekend. We used to pull on Sundays back then, pull Sunday afternoon, and then we'd shag home. And my partner had a county highway job, so he had to be back to work Monday morning. So we'd drive all night and get back home. And we were a little younger then, so it didn't bother us so much, but it all worked out. So
Yeah, Sundays were a big watched more than one session of the Show Me Showdown, right where that one was taken on Sunday afternoons, Friday and Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. You'd go down there and watch the
there's
poll.
video out there in 1992. It would have been that year.
Yep.
We got third place in the 7,000 class. So
yeah, that was a fun group of pullers in that 1992 show. I've watched that one. Might have been the same year that the Blagraves had their runaway, where they, went off the right boundary. And, PC Long and Doc Riley, made that famous call that's impacted me as an announcer. But, Tom, this is one of those, I could sit up with you till 2:00 in the morning talking about this tractor. I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. I hate that we have to cut it short. Anybody that you want to say hi to before we wrap up our program here?
Oh, the whole pulling world, just glad that it still goes on, and all the fans that follow, and all the old names that I still run into every now and again and get to visit with. So
do you still find yourself out at a pulling track from time to time?
Yeah, all the time.
Good deal. Good deal.
I actually drove a tractor at Toma last summer. So
which one was it? I want to go back and watch it.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Okay.
It's a red tractor. I did the same thing as Jeff before. I've switched colors.
Yep. Well,
so I've kind of formed a team partnership with James Geezy. We've kind of pooled some parts and whatever. We're putting some stuff together. So
where will we see you in 2025?
If all goes well for the next 5 weeks, Ellsworth, Wisconsin.
All right.
And I am signed up for Farley. We'll see if we make it, but
can't wait. Well, I'll be at Farley.
We'll
have to go out there. We'll have to go out there and talk some vintage pulling, sir.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you being on with us tonight. Thank you for being so responsive to our request on Facebook. Ton of fun to talk about these tractors with people who lived it firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you so much. All right, folks, pulling through the past. That was Tom Gillis. I kind of knew in the back of my mind he was still in it. I'd forgotten, to be honest with you, but I do remember seeing that when I was rewatching the Grand National season. Great time of pulling, the mid 90s through there. And I can already tell Tom, just a great person. Wish I could ask him 1,000 questions. Folks, we're already 2 minutes past time. Huge lineup tonight. Cole Zajicek, Thunder by the Colorado, this upcoming weekend, 6:30 and 7 o'clock on Saturday and Friday night. I kind of inverse the times there. Fullpull.live. You can be sure and watch that if you're not down there. Then we're going to go Pullers Championship, May 16th, 17th. Tim Beaty got on here, told us all about that. Jeff Kapinos giving Jason a hard time. The best thing you can do when Jason's not on here to defend himself. Tom Gillis telling us all about pulling through the past. Hop on over to Massetti and Friends if you want to continue your pulling extravaganza. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Idle here with Let's Grow Pulling. Have an awesome Monday night.
Today. Let's talk about today.
Grand national and state level, you have to run non-sales, wholesale.
Is 9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put it right in the registration book with the
Just this ever-evolving story.